campers. My name is Susan Blackwell. I'm one of your camp counselors. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm coming to you today from Muncie Lenape land. I'm a white woman. I have silver and gray hair piled up on top of my head in a bun. My glasses have black frames. I'm wearing overalls and a pale blue shirt. Behind me is grass and trees and sky and puffy clouds far into the distance. Welcome to week 1 of the Met Opera Summer Camp. We are so excited to be camping with you again this summer. For our first opera, we'll be exploring Mozart's The Magic Flute. This opera's got everything: heroes, villains, giant snakes, tiny birds, magic bells, magic flutes, but above all, friendship. Today, Monday, July 5th, we'll be getting to know the opera with Tim Brendler. If you're joining us for the first time, you can call him Bat Tim. Then we'll be jumping over to Zoom to get moving with dancing classrooms. What? Tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll be building puppets with Kayla and singing with Mr. Aaron. Wednesday, we get to hear from a real-life opera singer who has performed in the Magic Flute, Gabriela Reyes. Use the link in your Google Classroom to submit a question for Gabby. On Wednesday, we'll have a chance to check in. Say that 10 times fast. On Wednesday, we'll have a chance to check in with camp counselors Tim and Kamala. If you have questions about the opera or the activities, they'll have answers. The fun continues on Thursday with story time with opera singer Emily Sierra. And then I, Susan Blackwell, will be in the career corner with composer Missy Mazzoli. If you have questions for Missy about her amazing career writing music and operas, you know we want to hear them. And then Friday, it's a celebration of opera and you and your amazing work. You know it. You love it. It's Camper Showcase at noon Eastern Time. And then at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, it's a dance party. Can you believe that they don't let me sing on the Met stage? On the Met stage. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. You can find all the links and all the info you need in your weekly summer camp email, or you can check out metopera.org/summercamp. Did I mention we're so excited to be summer camping with you? Seriously, they don't let me sing on the Met stage? Come on.
Oh my gosh, Met Opera campers, we are back, everyone. Oh my goodness. Hello, welcome to day 1 of Met Opera Global Summer Camp. Friends, it's me. You can call me Camp Counselor Dan. A lot of you call me Spider Dan, and I love it. So happy to be here, everyone. My name is Camp Counselor Dan. My pronouns are he, him. I am white. I have a signature mustache that is black. I have a little stubble on my face, and I have black and a little bit silver. You can see it. I feel like my campers from last summer gave me that silver hair. Silver hair. I am in a room in New York City in the East Village. I have a white wall behind me. There is a framed photo of an elephant here. There's a mirror directly behind me. And if you can look up into this corner, you can see a picture maybe of my hero, Nelson Mandela. Friends, I am so delighted to be here. We are going to have a wonderful 4-week adventure through the world of opera, starting this week with Mozart's The Magic Flute. I'm singing because Susan was singing. There it is. Oh my gosh, look at Pamina right there playing that flute. Friends, I would love to ask all of you a huge favor this summer, that we take advantage of the chat feature on both YouTube and Facebook and prioritize comments that relate back to the topic at hand. So that way, maybe some of our new campers can use the comments to learn more about this camp. If you're returning and you just want to chat with your friends, you can find places to do that, maybe through Google Classroom. All right, everyone, I want to say hello to all the grown-ups joining us for the first time. We're so happy to have you here. Any questions you have, grown-ups, campers, anyone can email me at summercamp@metopera.org. And then for the full camp schedule or any of the opera streams worksheets or any of the links to anything you may have missed or you think you should have gotten, you can find it there at metopera.org/summercamp. And finally, before I introduce today's wonderful teaching artist, my very good friend, I want to remind you to post your camper creations on Instagram and tag us. We are at Met Opera Student, and you can do hashtag Met Opera Camp, everyone. All right, here we go. Are you ready to meet one of my favorite people on the earth? He hails from the Lone Star Republic, which is a state in the United States of America that we call Texas. He's Texas Tim, Camp Counselor Tim, Bat Tim, welcome back.
Hello, friends. We are so excited to be with you, and boy, are you in for a treat. It's going to be a fast and furious introduction today, and we are so excited that we are on this adventure together.
Oh my gosh, look at the chat is blowing up. Oh my gosh, Tim, look at this. So fun, everybody. So great to have you here. Texas Tim, Mary loves that. It's trending. It's trending. Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh, everyone says hi. Una's back. Hi, Gwen. Oh, friends from all over the world are here joining us today, Tim. I am going to sneak into the background and let you do what you do better than anyone I know. I'll see you at the end, Tim. Have a great time. All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye, everyone.
All right, friends, again, we are so thrilled that you are here with us at Metropolitan Opera's Global Summer Camp 2.0. As Dan said, my name is Tim, also known as Bat Tim to many of our global summer campers. Like he said, I am from the Lone Star state of Texas. I'm here in Flower Mound in between Dallas and Fort Worth. I am a white male. My pronouns are he, him, and I wear glasses, and I have brown, and you can see from some of my, it's a little hard to see, here you go, some of my gray that is shading in from teaching during the pandemic, for sure. And I always typically wear my favorite Met shirt, which is a black shirt, which says Voices Rise. I have always been sitting in my fabulous green chair here in my bedroom with a gray background. And friends, today we're going to introduce you to one of the most beloved operas of all time. And so on the screen here in just a second, you are going to see a really great presentation that we're going to share with you. So again, if you ever have questions, like Dan said, reach out to us. You'll see if you have a question about an activity, you can always message me through Google Classroom, or my email is there. And always, 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 friends, please tag us on all of your social media accounts so that we can share your wonderful work with the world. So let's, friends, dive in. And now one of my favorite things to always engage with is an application called Mentimeter. So what I'm going to have you do is, on any device, it could be the device that you're watching this on, or another device like your phone, go to www.menti.com. And this is a really, really neat way for us to engage virtually. And you'll see the code there on the screen, which is as follows: 77113203. So once you're at menti.com, and keep this handy because we're going to come back and forth to this, so don't just exit out, just once we get through this, keep it up on your screen because we're going to toggle back and forth these two things. So friends, the first thing I have for you is just to sort of see how you are doing. So on our Menti screen, you will see the first thing I want you to do is on your Menti, and I'm going to do it too on my device, is on your device, I want you to just check. You can check 1, you can check 3, you can check all of them, but just tell me how you're feeling right now. Are you feeling happy, excited, ready to party? Are you relaxed, silly, intrigued? Maybe if you're new here, maybe you're feeling a little shy or nervous. If you're like me, I'm really hot right now in Texas. It's an inferno here all day, every day. Or maybe some of our friends in the Southern Hemisphere, sometimes it might be very cold for them, because even though it's very hot summer for me, it might be very cool winter where you are. Or you may be sleepy. For some of us in different time zones, it might be very, very late or very, very early. But friends, we are so excited that you're here. For some of us, it might be next to a meal time. Let me know if you're hungry. So what you'll see here is a really, really awesome Menti. And friends, if you are joining us later on, you can still participate in the Menti because we are going to change this so that you can access this at any time. So even if you don't get a chance to do this now, you can always come back later. And if you're watching this video after it's been recorded and uploaded, you can still participate in our Mentees. So friends, we're going to pause our Menti there, and if you'll see this next screen, it'll say pause your Menti, and it'll probably say that on your Menti device as well. When you see pause your Menti, just pause it there, and then you're going to come back to it a little bit later. So let's dive into this really exciting opera, friends. I have so much to share with you. So buckle up and powder your wigs, everyone. Powder your wigs, y'all. Let your curls down as we embark on another thrilling operatic adventure in story and song. That's a really funny movie about Mozart. So if you have a fancy wig at home, put your fancy wig on and channel Mozart as we dive into this really exciting opera. The Magic Flute is a fairy tale of darkness, light, and finding your way in the world. The Magic Flute was a huge, immediate hit with audiences with its classic tale of adventure, heroism, supernatural enchantments, and the triumph of good over evil. A lot of these things Camp Counselor Susan touched on too. The opera took Vienna by storm when it was first performed nearly 230 years ago, back in 1791. And since its premiere in Austria, the Magic Flute has been heard around the world in countless opera houses and is beloved as not only a joyful and at times silly fairy tale, but also a work of deep reflection of the human experience and friendship. And so that's a bunch of different opera companies on the screen there, all their different pictures that they have for their productions. And today, the Magic Flute remains one of the most frequently performed operas all across the world and is favorite of many global summer campers. Just ask our friend Alex that you'll see there on this screen. So before, friends, we take a deep dive into the Magic Flute, let's watch the Mets trailer for a sneak peek into this awe-inspiring production. You, friends, are going to love this so much. If many of you have probably seen it, but if you're not, if this is your first time ever watching opera, this is the perfect first opera to watch. So here's a quick snapshot of the opera as a whole. Although Mozart's original opera was cast in 2 acts, the production we're going to watch is pretty much a non-stop 1 act, just under 2 hours, the length of about a feature-length film you'd see in the theater. And for some of us, it's probably shorter than some movies. And since this production we'll watch, they're recorded, you can come back at any time you want. If you want to pause it, if you need to use the restroom, or you want to take a snack break, you just pause it, you do an activity or something, come back later, and you can always finish the rest. There are many different types of opera, and the Magic Flute is what we will call a Singspiel. Say that, try to say that, Singspiel. That is an opera with musical numbers mixed with spoken dialogue, very similar to a musical. And finally, while many operas are sung in different languages, for instance, the Magic Flute was originally written in German, this production is going to be in English, but you can always see subtitles on the bottom, which will enable you to read it in your own language as well. There are a number of different sources that have led to the creation of this really fun story in the Magic Flute, such as Arthurian romance that date back to the 12th century in France, stories of courtly love and chivalry, and the German poet and author Christoph Martin Wieland's collection of fairy and ghost tales published between 1786 and 1789, as well as Viennese popular theater, which at the time focused on magic, silly humor, and mystery. The Enlightenment, a philosophical movement that focused on reason, purpose, and scientific examination, spread all across the area to all forms of life, not just science, but government, politics, literature, and all sorts of art forms that have affected this opera as well. But the biggest one that we'll probably talk about is Freemasonry, and you probably have maybe never heard that before. Freemasonry has made a huge impact on the Magic Flute, and members of the Freemason organizations were committed to the ideas of morality, justice, of right and wrong, rationalism, humanism, all these fancy terms reason, skepticism of authority. In just in a second, we're going to dive into exactly what does that mean? What do all those big words mean? And Freemasons, they were oftentimes ritualistic and mystic, and many were interested in Egyptian mysteries, which is why you will see many Egyptian symbols in this particular production. So friends, let's go back to our Menti. Hopefully you didn't get away from that. So go back to your Menti. If you need to use the code there, it's again on the screen, 77113203 at menti, MENTI.com. We're going to talk a little bit about the Freemasons and their connection to the opera, as well as a few other themes that'll show up. So on your Menti screen, what you will see here on the next slide is you'll be able to move your slider. So usually I just say commit to agree or disagree, but now I've given you a little bit more options this year. There's a slider on your screen that you can move with your thumb or any other finger, and you're going to slide it back and forth. So I want you to tell me, knowledge, justice, wisdom, and truth are important. Would you strongly agree? Would you strongly disagree? Are you somewhere in the middle? And this particular thing is really, really neat, especially in this particular opera. And what is really neat is that on the screen, it'll also show us that the majority of us very much strongly agree with that. So here's your next statement. What do you agree or disagree? Anything can be solved through logic and reason. Can you sit down and solve any problem in the world if you just sit down and you think about it logically and you think about the reasoning behind it? Can you think anything? And now this is really, I'd probably be in the middle maybe of this. I would like to think that maybe anything, but I'm sure there's things in the world that even logic and reason probably couldn't explain. And I think it's really interesting that the majority of us are sort of conflicted a little bit. A lot of us are sort of in between sort of disagree or agree here. All right, friends, here's the next one. We have a duty to behave, a duty like a responsibility. You have a duty to behave responsibly and morally and honorably in everything we do. Now, these are ideals that the Freemasons especially were very, very important to them. Responsibility, morally, acting right. And I'm sure if any of your parents are with you, I'm sure they ran to strongly agree. And it's really cool that I think that's really awesome. You are all very ethical and moral people out there, but I love that we all strongly agree. For the most part, a lot of us strongly agree with that statement. Alrighty, here's your next one. Now, these are all now changing back from Freemasons now to a little bit about the plot. What do you think about these statements? Life is better with friends by your side. This one, for me, I don't have to think too much about. I strongly agree with that one, and it's something that I can't imagine my life without my friends, Camp Counselor Dan and Kamala, and especially when we think about this opera, friendship is a really, really big theme. All right, here's our next one. Everyone has a soulmate, and this is a fellow you'll see in a little bit. His name is Papageno. And what do you think? Do you think everyone has a soulmate? Do you think everyone has someone that they can be with for the rest of their life? Oh, it's interesting to me. We're all over the map. Now, my class where I teach, there are a bunch of hopeless romantics, so they all strongly agree with this. But it's really interesting to me. We're sort of all over the map here, and sometimes a lot of our experiences in life also may affect how we feel about some of these situations. All right, here's your next one. Vengeance can be justified. Now, is it okay to get back at someone? That's sort of what I'm asking here. And what you see on this fabulous picture of the Queen of the Night, she is searching for vengeance. And she asks her daughter to do a really terrible thing. And she tries to justify that. Now, what do you think? Do you think vengeance, getting back at someone, can that be justified? You tell me. The majority of us, there was a lot at first that said strongly disagree. It's a little scary that some of us are on strongly agree. I hope I don't make you mad. But very interesting statements to think about as we think about this opera. Here's your next one. Everything is always the way it seems at first glance. Now, this is I love this picture so much. I'll tell you a little bit about this. But this is from one of my favorite scenes here where Papageno stumbles upon another woman. And it's not what it turns out not to be who he originally thought it was. And so a lot of times what I really love is that many of you actually strongly disagree with this statement, that a lot of times, in fact, that's not true, that things are not quite the way they always seem at first glance. All right, good will always prevail over evil. Are you optimistic? Now I'm going to ask you, are you optimistic? Are you very hopeful? Or are you sort of pessimistic? Or maybe you're in between, maybe you're a realist about things. But good will always prevail over evil. I'll tell you, spoiler alert, in this opera, good does prevail over evil. But again, it's interesting to me that we're sort of right smack in the middle. Some of us are saying, yeah, and some of us maybe nah. And here's your final one. And again, you can always come back to this later if we're going too fast. Light will always break through the darkness. What do you think about that? Light will always break through the darkness. That even in the midst of really dark and troubling times, that we always have light, that light and hope will shine through. And many of us in this past pandemic, in this year and a half or so, probably experienced a lot of those dark times. And what I love about this opera is that it reminds us that even in the midst of some really dark and troubling and scary times, that light and hope will always guide us through each of those trials. So pause your Menti. You'll see a pause your Menti on the next screen. And again, just keep it there. We're going to come back to that. Just pause your Menti. We're going to come back to that. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this particular production that we have for you. So a little bit about Mozart. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, he's the composer of this opera, meaning the person who writes the music. He actually conducted the premiere of this piece just 2 months before he died very young at 35. He was a sensational, what we call Wunderkind, a German word meaning wonder child or child prodigy. If you can believe this, he wrote 20 operas and 41 symphonies. I think, like, what have I done in my life? I can't even come close to that. And then the first of which, he actually wrote his first symphony at 8 years old. And I bet some of you are going to show us this year and this summer just how much of an awesome composer you are. The librettist or individual who wrote the text of the opera is named Emanuel Schikaneder. And he himself, you'll see that really fun picture of him, as well as a rendering. He actually starred in the role of Papageno, the bird catcher, at the opera's premiere. So the guy that wrote the text to all of this, he actually was in the first production, which I think is really neat. So now, friends, I'm going to introduce you. Oh my gosh, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. It's joke o'clock.
What is going on? Oh my gosh, it's joke o'clock, everybody. It's joke o'clock. Now, if you are new to Met Opera Global Summer Camp, you are in for a treat, everyone. Hi, it's me, Camp Counselor Dan. I'm back. Let's take a look at some jokes that have been submitted by campers from around the world. Are you ready, Camp Counselor Tim?
Lay 'em on me.
All right, this one is from our friend Shivangana in Muscat, Oman. Question for you, Camp Counselor Tim. What is better than one ba?
One ba.
What is better than one ba?
Like a sheep?
Two bas!
Y'all, we love music jokes. We love a good music joke.
Okay, this one is from our friend in Kiev, Ukraine. This is from Blau Vista. Why couldn't the string quartet find their composer?
I'd be very concerned if I was in their shoes.
I mean, it would be a real trauma for me too. Okay, let's see. Because he was Haydn. Haydn is the name of a famous composer. That's a very good music
so good.
joke. Okay.
Y'all are setting the bar real high.
I mean, these are really, really solid jokes for day one of camp. So I think we're going to have a great camp. Now, remember, you can submit jokes using the link in your Google Classroom, and we will read as many jokes this summer as we can get our hands on. I might be back later, Camp Counselor Tim. I'll let you know. All right. Bye, everyone.
All right, friends. So I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to introduce you to our all-star cast. Now, the handsome and courageous young Prince Tamino is played by this American all-star tenor whose name is Matthew Polenzani, who made his Met debut back in 1997, and he's a very dear friend of the Met. We really like him. The hilarious American baritone Nathan Gunn is going to play the role of Papageno, our hesitant bird catcher who plays Tamino's reluctant sidekick. And Nathan made his debut back on the Met stage in 1995. Now, many of you, I know you love this next character. The Queen of the Night, a furious and vengeful mother, has one of the opera's most demanding arias ever written, with its massive range, stratospheric vocal acrobatics, which require a powerful and agile voice. In this production, the Queen of the Night is played by a Hungarian, what we call coloratura soprano, Erika Miklosa. A coloratura soprano possesses the vocal agility to perform really fast and elaborate ornamented vocal passages, and I promise you'll know it when you hear it, and your jaw will be on the floor. Pamina, the beautiful daughter of the Queen of the Night, catches Tamino's eyes, and the two are a perfect match for one another, going hand in hand through the trials that are set before them. Pamina is played by the beautiful Chinese soprano Ying Wang, who made her Met debut in this very production when it first premiered at the Met. Now, Zoroastro, a powerful leader and high priest of the sun who was abducted, he has abducted Tamino and Pamina, and he makes them undergo a number of trials. He's played by a very, very famous German bass, René Papa, who made his first Met debut in 1992, singing in Beethoven's one and only opera ever written called Fidelio. So we're going to go back to our mentee just for another second here, and I want you to tell me which of the characters do you most identify with. So again, if you need to hop on your mentee, it's 77113203, and I want you to look at the screen here, and I'll help you through this. Which character do you identify with the most? Adventurous and courageous Prince Tamino? Or are you silly and goofy Papageno? Or are you the fierce and frenzied Queen of the Night? Or are you just a born leader, calm, cool, and collected Zoroastro? Take a look at those. Again, are you adventurous and courageous like Prince Tamino? Are you silly and goofy Papageno? We have a lot of silly and goofy Papagenos out there, I know that. Fierce and frenzied Queen of the Night? Do you get frazzled? Do you get a little anxious sometimes? Or are you a born leader, calm, cool, and collected? And what I love so much is that there's first of all, lots of silly and goofy Papagenos, but I love that we have such a neat array and such a diverse group of you all gathered. So think of that as I go through this plot. Think of which character or what you might be if you were in one of these characters' shoes. I want you to think about which one of these characters would you do something differently that they did if you put yourself in their shoes. So now, friends, we're going to dive through this story, one that might be very familiar to many of you, yet completely new to some. And I promise, if this is your first time in this opera, you are going to love this particular production. So here's a little bit about the synopsis, which means the story behind the magic flute. Here we go. In a faraway mythical land, a prince named Tamino is running through the woods when all of a sudden a serpent appears. And just as the beast looks to devour Tamino, 3 mysterious women appear and save him. Papageno, the bird catcher, arrives on the scene boasting it was he who killed the serpent and remains by Tamino's side for the remainder of his journey. The 3 women summon their leader, the Queen of the Night, who in turn sends Tamino on a quest to rescue her daughter Pamina from the evil sorcerer Zoroastro. And Tamino, after seeing a portrait of Pamina, is captured by her beauty and vows to rescue her. And to help him on his journey, Tamino and Papageno are given a magic flute and silver bells to ensure their safety on the treacherous journey. As the 3 spirits guide Tamino and Papageno, which, by the way, are 3 young children who might be your age, and one day you might be singing one of the roles of the spirits on the Met stage. As the 3 spirits, they guide Tamino and Papageno, they soon discover that nothing, not even day and night, is quite as it first appeared. Tamino finds Pamina at Zoroastro's temple But behind enemy lines, the two find out they're on the wrong side. Zoroastro explains to Tamino and Pamina that he has no interest in vengeance. The Queen of the Night is actually the evil one who wants to plunge the world into darkness. Everything Tamino believed is actually turned upside down, filling him with fear, confusion, and doubt. A new adventure begins for Tamino and Pamina as they are sent through 3 trials of wisdom. Helped by the flute's magical power, Tamino and Pamina overcome the trials and the Queen's attempts to sabotage them. With her entourage, the Queen of the Night attacks the temple, but they are defeated and banished. Zoroastro blesses Tamino and Pamina, and everyone praises the triumph of good over evil, and courage, virtue, and wisdom prevail, restoring balance to the kingdom. Friends, you are going to love this so much. Now, each week we'll have a really special story time, and one of my favorite books growing up when I was your age was Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are. And recently, when I was preparing for this to share with you, I learned that the author of my favorite book, Maurice Sendak, who is there on the bottom left, he's in that photo, with middle-aged man sort of working hard away at all of his, he's working on lots of illustrations in that picture. He loves music and Mozart in particular. And in a New York Times interview, he actually said, this is a quote from Maurice, "I know that if there's a purpose for life, it was for me to hear Mozart. I thought that was so cool. And then, catch this, I learned that he designed and staged the Magic Flute for the Houston Grand Opera, which is another company that's sort of in my backyard here in Texas." I just thought that was really, really neat. But onto another figure who you were really going to want to know for this particular production, and her name is Julie Taymor. Julie Taymor is a name that you'll definitely want to keep in the back of your mind. She's an all-star producer, costume designer, and puppet designer of this incredible opera at the Magic Flute. And Julie is well known for her work directing and designing the costumes for the hit musical The Lion King. So keep your eyes peeled for similarities maybe with some of the costumes and puppet designs of the Magic Flute and The Lion King. So here's a brief snippet of a short interview with Julie Taymor describing her inspiration behind the puppetry of the Magic Flute.
Behind it. Well, as with so many of your productions, this Magic Flute features incredible puppetry. But the puppets are not like what we have seen in The Lion King or some of your other shows that you've directed. What makes the puppetry in Flute so different?
Well, I took the principle of air because it is the flute.
The flute, yeah.
So the idea of air meant that the notion of kites would be the main style. So even the dragon or the beast that comes in the beginning, I didn't actually add more animals than they already had in the text. I just put them out there. But if you look at the style, they're all done basically in the style of Japanese kites. So they're made of silk and they're very light. And you have the birds of Papageno, and they're also made out of very, very thin fabrics and sometimes literal kites or shadow puppets. And that was the idea to have, that was the organizing unity principle of the style of the piece.
Well, Julie, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been
welcome.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to dive into what to listen for. Sometimes it's a little daunting to dive into an opera, especially if you're totally new. You might be wondering, what exactly should I be listening for? And so there's a lot of really neat things I want you to keep your ears tuned for and your eyes peeled for. And I've created a bingo sheet for you each to complete as you watch the Magic Flute, which will help you focus your ears and eyes on some of the exciting moments from the opera we're learning about today. And a few of these are listed here on the screen, like Papageno's folk-like arias, simple tunes that get stuck in your head, Zoroastro's strong and dignified hymn-like singing, and lots of other ones. So each character in the Met's production has distinct music that Mozart has written to reflect their character. And a few of these include folk-like arias of Papageno, meaning catchy melodies that'll get stuck in your head, that reflect his lighthearted spirit. Now, Zoroastro's music, you'll see him very, very big, powerful in that yellow costume. His music is very deep and stately and very hymn-like, which reflects his character as a spiritual leader as well. Tamino sings really beautiful lyrical arias that are much more romantic in style. which are very much befitting of a prince, and most famously, the Queen of the Night's Rage aria, full of vocal fireworks. Again, you'll know it when you hear it, I promise. Peppered with high Fs, like above the staff, high Fs. Absolutely insane, friends. Mirror her intense fury as she orders her daughter Pamina to kill Zoroastro. So moving ahead here, one of the things that Dr. Kamala and I were discussing a few weeks ago are the various instruments that are used in different productions of the magic flute to represent Papageno's bells. So the instruments that we all recognize here, probably the bottom picture is a glockenspiel, which some of you may have played at school, or you might even have one at home. And this is a percussion instrument made out of metal bars set up like a keyboard, and you strike the notes with a mallet, which creates a beautifully bright bell-like tone. Another instrument that we use to represent Papageno's bells is the keyboard glockenspiel, which in just a second will show up here on the top left. This type of instrument, scholars believe to have been used during the original performance, and it's kept at the Vienna Museum. The keyboard glockenspiel actually uses glass instead of metal and is only the size of a toy piano. Now, fun fact, Mozart's magic flute was such a hit that opera companies and opera houses all over Austria, when it first premiered, wanted that keyboard glockenspiel so that they could perform the opera. However, other instrument makers all across Europe didn't have access to the instrument that was used during the first performance, so they ended up actually coming up with their own designs. So there's all sorts of different types of these instruments all throughout Europe because nobody really knew what the original one was. And to this day, many variations of that instrument still exist, and what's really difficult to tell what the original instrument was really like, because who really knows? And finally, up here on this top right, you may not recognize it, but if you've ever heard the celeste or the celesta, it's heard in Tchaikovsky's ballet, especially the Nutcracker. So if you know which Nutcracker dance the celesta is used for, bum, 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 that's the Nutcracker. And so type in the comments, does anybody know which dance in Tchaikovsky's ballet? It's the dance of the sugar, anybody know which fairy? Is it the sugar apple, the sugar plum, the sugar blueberry? It's actually, yes, it's the sugar plum. Awesome, Marius. The dance of the sugar plum fairy. So some opera companies use the celeste to represent Papageno's bells, and they come from the French word which means celestial or heavenly, and the instrument has a very soft, gentle, and beautiful sound. And the celeste was invented in 1886, and Mozart died in 1791. So if you put those two and two together, needless to say, Mozart didn't really know anything about that instrument. But some opera companies decide to use that when they perform Papageno's bells. So we're going to go back to our mentee here, and we're going to do a little pop quiz. I want you to, after hearing and seeing those instruments, I'm going to play a couple clips with Dan's help. We're going to play some clips for you, and I want you to tell me which one of these you hear. So on the first one, our first listening example, we're going to pull that up, and I want you to tell me, do you think it is the glockenspiel? Do you think it's the keyboard glockenspiel? Or do you think it is the celeste? So here is number one. So on our mentee, tell me, which one did you think? For listening example number one, did you think that was the keyboard glockenspiel, the celeste, or just the regular percussion instrument, the glockenspiel? Oh, it's neck and neck. It's almost tied between glockenspiel and keyboard glockenspiel. And that one you just heard, drum roll please, that was the glockenspiel. That is what a glockenspiel sounds like. So we're going to do this two more times. So here's excerpt number 2. Which one do you think you're going to hear next? The keyboard glockenspiel or the celeste? We've already heard the glockenspiel. So here is example number 2. I love these. I think they're such a fascinating sound. So we've heard the glockenspiel. So it's either between the keyboard glockenspiel or the celeste or the celesta. And the keyboard glockenspiel is definitely our front runner. And you all, those of you that chose keyboard glockenspiel, ta-da! You are right. That was an example of the keyboard glockenspiel that is the first ever one that we have. And the last one, if you remember, the last one is actually an example of the celeste. And so if you remember back to listening to the ballet, the Nutcracker, that is a really neat thing. And maybe if I can remember, I will put a clip of that up on the Google Classroom for you to hear a little bit of that celesta. So friends, since time is running short, we are going to jump back to our presentation, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about these activities that we have for you. There are 12 different activities that I've designed for us to have a lot of fun with as we dive into the many themes of this opera. And I had to make sure the number of activities was divisible by 3, which is a special connection with Freemasonry. So 3 is a big number that we're going to talk a lot about this week. So there's something for everyone. Those of you that like to design or dance, craft, play games, I encourage you to try as many of them or all these activities, but you don't have to do all of them. Like we remind you all the time, this is summer camp, not summer school. So choose your own adventure. So I'm going to walk you through a description of each of these activities, and don't stress if you don't catch all of this. Remember, all of these activities and their instructions are on Google Classroom, and if you need still access and you haven't joined that, that's okay. Check your email. We've emailed out to everyone the code to join the Google Classroom with a link. So I'll remind you throughout the week, we're going to be asking a number of you to share your work at Friday's Camper Showcase. And so when you submit your stuff, you can submit them on all these different assignments on Google Classroom, or you can just submit everything at the end I created a topic that says Camper Showcase. And I just ask wherever on Google Classroom that you submit your work, please, please, please don't forget to send me a private message saying your name, the camper's name, as well as where you are from, so we can give you a big old shout out at the Camper Showcase when we share your work. So let's dive in. The first activity that we're going to listen about is called What's in a Name? And some of you have already shared with me yours, and I'm really excited to learn more about each of you. We know the composer of the Magic Flute as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. However, his father Leopold actually baptized him, I might butcher this, so I apologize him, he's probably rolling in his grave, Johannes Chrysostomus Wolfgangus Theodophilus Mozart. Talk about a mouthful. And you may be wondering, where did Amadeus come from? That's not even in his fully baptized name. And Amadeus is actually Latin for a Greek word, Theophilus, which means lover of God. And our first activity, as we do this introductory activity, is a way for us to get to know one another. And so what I want you to do is share with us via Flipgrid, which you'll see on that bottom icon with a plus sign. You see that on the screen, that'll designate for you. You can also submit in Google Classroom, or if you submit through Flipgrid, which some of you may use at school, if you submit on Flipgrid, that enables everyone in camp to be able to get to know you a little bit better and to see your creation. So on your Flipgrid, share with me the story behind your name. What is your name and what does it mean? Is there a story about it? Ask your parents if you don't know. And similar to Mozart, who gave himself many nicknames, do you have any nicknames that you like to be called, or that your friends and family call you? Like my friends call me Timmy or Timmy B, or y'all call me Bat Tim. So I answer to a lot of things. So that's our first introductory activity. The next one is called Taming the Beast. It's one of 2 musical activities, and in this activity, I'm challenging each of you to compose and perform your very own tune to charm and tame the wild beast. So here's an example that I created with my beast, just a year-old Great Dane Moira. So maybe some of your furry friends, maybe they're going to help you out in this activity to tame the wild beast in your home. This next activity, friends, is inspired by some of our friends in Canada. And this musical activity, which you'll first listen to, another composition by Mozart, is his piano sonata in A major. And the theme has been arranged to fit a very comfortable range for most instruments and even singing, and it fits perfectly if you have a recorder at home. And now, if you don't play an instrument, remember the voice is an instrument. And if you don't play that, we want you to sing. And so you can always learn the melody on a neutral syllable such as lu, 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 lu. And it sounds like this. Lu, 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 and so that's a little bit of the melody, and that you're going to learn that melody first. And then the next thing that I'm going to have you do, and again, all these instructions are on Google Classroom, you're going to cut the segments that are going to be boxed in the handout that I've uploaded to Google Classroom. So here on the next slide, you'll see you're going to cut all those boxes out and rearrange the melody to create a new composition. So all of our first, 8th, 9th, and 16th measures, they'll all be the same, just so that we have a little bit of a foundation. And Mozart loved puzzles and games, and even when it came to composing. So as a party game, Mozart would actually do wild things like this. He would challenge his friends to help him compose a piece out of thin air, sometimes by rolling dice or other games of chance. And so once you cut your segments out, you cut those boxes out, I want you to flip them over so you can't look at them, shuffle them up, and then randomly pull segments one by one to create a new melody by the order of these randomly pulled segments. No matter what the order that you randomly pull them, I promise it's going to be a beautiful melody. And so on our Google Classroom, I've also included that as an example for you. And finally, you'll notate your melody. You don't have to, but it might be helpful to. And remember, you can always add words to your melody, especially vocalists. I would love to hear some of the words that you would create to your newly composed melody. And you can always write down the order of the segments at the bottom. So again, our first, 8th, 9th, and 16th measures will all be the same. And then you can learn, record, and upload a performance. And I can't wait to showcase some of yours on Friday. The next one that we have for you is part of Julie Taymor's costumes for the 3 ladies. You'll see a lot of really neat masks. So in this activity, you'll get really messy and create a papier-mâché mask of your own with household items such as plastic gallon jugs, paper, flour, and water. You really don't need a lot of fancy things. That's all it really takes. So all these instructions are on Google Classroom, as well as a video from YouTube that'll help you walk through that activity as well. If you're into digital art, or maybe you're just excited to try something totally new at summer camp, which is when I was your age, that's what I loved about camp, is I got to try all sorts of new things. This might be totally new to you, and that's digital drawing using what we call pixel art. Pixel art is a form of digital art that's created through the use of software. And for this, you don't need to download anything. It's just on the browser on a website called Piskel at piskelapp.com. And I've shared on Google Classroom a few different tutorial videos on how to get you started to create your own digital pixel art drawing. And the best way to learn, like a lot of things, is just to dive in and try it out yourself. So here's an example of what your digital art space, if you use this particular app, here's what it might look like on this next slide. So that's in a rendering of what I created to mimic one of the 3 ladies, one of their masks. And on this next example here, here's a digital work of the art that I created. And if you advance this one more, we'll get to see that. Look at that fella on the bottom. You can even animate them like a GIF through this. And the way you do that is very similar to if you've ever done stop motion. You just create multiple frames of the same thing. And if you're like, I'm really excited about this, and you start doing this today and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, I have no idea how to do this. On Wednesday, that'd be a great time to hop on our check-in in Zoom and ask as many questions as you have for this. And this is actually very new to me, so we'll figure it out as we go together. But I'm really excited about that and to see some of your creations. Last year, when we learned about, if you were with us last year, I walked you through Humperdinck's Hansel and Gretel, and I taught you a folk dance. And now this year, we're going to explore some more movement by learning about mirroring and shadowing. And in this activity, I've created a short video to guide you through the differences between mirroring and shadowing. And then you'll create a movement piece of your own with a partner or your whole family. Get everyone, the more the merrier, from a scene of Tamino and Pamina's trials. So all that information is on Google Classroom. And I'll put all of them together and create a really cool montage. Now, this production, like we saw with Julie Taymor, is full of really neat costumes. And there are a number of different sketches of different designs that Julie has done when she sketched these out by hand. And for this activity, I want you to think of what a new costume might be for one of these characters. Maybe it's for the Queen of the Night, or Zarastro, or one of the ladies, or Papageno. Choose a character, create a new costume, only using the clothes, fabrics, and whatever materials you have at home, and then hit the runway. We've done this last year, and it's one of my all-time favorite activities. And I want you to record and share about a 90-second short video showcasing your newly created costume with one of the characters of the Magic Flute. And now, if you remember, if you're new, a good friend of ours, Miss B, has what we call a creative challenge. And hers is very similar to this, and it ties in with the costuming in. And so if you love costume design, you can do 2 different costume activities. Because this week, Miss B's creative challenge is for you to think of ways that you can create a much more modern costume for one of the characters. So check out, that's also under the different activities under art on Google Classroom. Now, this year marks the 32nd Olympiad, which is being held in Tokyo, Japan. And what better timing for us to celebrate than to create a Magic Flute-inspired Olympic obstacle course. And in this activity, what I want you to do is create an obstacle course with 3 trials. Remember, 3 is always the magic number. 3 is a big number in this opera. And you're going to create 3 different trials. And once you create your obstacle course, I want you to record a video of you and your family and friends competing in the trials. And now, big bonus points if you have an announcer, a commentator, a judge to share their scores. The more absurd, the more wild, the more riotous laughter, the better. I just want you to have so much fun, be really silly, create a really fun little 3 obstacle course. Because remember, 3 is our favorite number. All right, friends. I love this. I absolutely love this. A photo scavenger hunt. And this is using an application. So this is an app that you download on your phone, either on an Android or an iPhone. It's an app-based photo scavenger hunt. And there are instructions on Google Classroom on how to download the app, log in. You don't have to create a full, you can just join as a guest. You don't have to create like a whole profile. It doesn't cost anything. It's totally free. And you just upload your submissions to receive points. And so it's a little bit of a competition to see who can get the most amount of points in the photo scavenger hunt. It's really, really fun. And I hope many of you will also play that. So remember to check it out today, as there are some photo missions that you'll need to complete during other sessions as we go throughout the week. So it's to your benefit to get a sneak peek as soon as we're done, because you might even already need a sneak peek for a picture for one of the missions for this afternoon session. Hint, hint, hint. And I said earlier, there are a lot of features of Mozart's music and the Met staging to keep your ears tuned to and eyes peeled for. So I've created a bingo sheet for you to complete as you watch the Magic Flute. And so 5 in a row, like a normal bingo, is great. But blackout bingo, where the whole board is filled, is really what we're going for. So if there's a blank underneath the descriptor, like you can see that triangle pyramid on the bottom, Ode to the Freemasons, if there's a group of 3, be sure to specify who or what the group of 3 is. So that's a little bit of Magic Flute bingo for you. And go ahead, and I would recommend you print that off and complete that as you're watching and listening to the opera as a family. You're going to really love that. And I think that'll really help you really engage with the opera even more so. Next up, this is something I shared with you last year and many rave reviews, so I brought it back, is Jeopardy, which is it's like Jeopardy, but it's trademarked, so we call it Jeopardy. So who doesn't love a great game of Jeopardy? And I've uploaded a game for you to play with your whole family after you've watched the opera, and each of the answers will be given, just like Jeopardy style, you provide the question. So if the answer were vengeful mother whose character sings vocal acrobatics with numerous high Fs, you would answer, who is Queen of the Night? And so have fun with everyone's favorite family fun night, game night. You're going to love these. There's so many games you can play. And again, get the whole family involved. You're going to have so much fun. And after you watch the opera, write a review for us and share that either on Google Classroom or Flipgrid and tell us what you think. We always like to share these with some of your takes on a lot of the exciting moments that happened in the opera. What were your favorite parts? Who were your favorite opera stars and why? What do you think of the orchestration? What do you think of the staging, the costumes, the set design? There's so much to talk about in this production. And did anything surprise you? So again, it's just a short 90-second critique, and you can share that with us. And if you try Flipgrid, if it's new to you, there's some really cool features. And again, our check-in on Wednesday, ask all the questions about any of these activities. So here they are again. There are 12 different activities, and I encourage you, like I said earlier, to try them all, or as many of them as you like. None of them are mandatory, but I promise you'll have so much fun with all these activities. And don't forget, on Friday, we're going to showcase a number of your work from those activities. So be sure to complete and upload your activities early so we can include them in the presentation. We have a 5 p.m. Eastern time, that's New York City time, 5 p.m. on Thursday, deadline for submissions. That way it gives me a little bit of time Thursday night to get it all together, and then we'll share all your awesome creations. So on Google Classroom also, there's a schedule for you to look over, and it's also on Google Classroom. Anything in yellow is hosted here on YouTube Live or Facebook, and the few blue events that we have are hosted on Zoom, which require a registration in advance. So all our events either occur at noon or 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. And just like we said in our camper orientation, they'll be recorded and uploaded, so if you're unable to watch live, you can always go back and watch them later. And there's also a cool time zone converter if you need that, and that'd be helpful for you as well. So friends, if you have any questions or you want to follow up regarding any of the activities, don't hesitate to reach out via either Google Classroom. You can send me a private message and that'll send me a message. Or if you have general information, you can always ask summercamp@metopera.org. And we love, love, love your pictures. You can always tag us on Instagram using @MetOperaStudent with the hashtag MetOperaCamp. We would love for you to blow up our social media accounts, and you never know, you might get a repost. No guarantee, but you never know. So one last time, friends, here's our weekly schedule one more time with a reminder that in just a little bit, we're going to kick off our first Get Moving Monday event, which will be hosted on Zoom. So that's just in a little bit. In just a second, once we wrap up in just a minute, you'll have about a 30-minute break. And then we have our next event at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is Get Moving Monday.
Get Moving Monday.
Yeah, baby.
I can't wait. Camp Counselor Tim, Bat Tim, Timothy Brendler, my hat that I'm not wearing is off to you yet again. What a wonderful lesson. Oh my gosh. Tim, may I say that every time you open your mouth to speak, I get 10 times smarter and a million times happier. I'm just so happy to be here and to be in the presence of you and learn and like do the mentees and the jokes and all of these assignments, 12 assignments. We've got a lot of work to do this week, so I'm very excited. Friends, yes, Get Moving Monday. You can join us in 30 minutes. We'll switch over to Zoom. If you can't join live, or if you're viewing this, in a different time zone and you can't join us, or you had to go get a snack like Tal had to, you can join us. You can watch this later. I'll post it on YouTube this evening. So check back this evening and you can learn the dance and meet Miss Akemi and Miss Bieta, our friends at Dancing Classrooms. So join us, hang out. Even if you don't feel like dancing or you don't know if you're a dancer, just come in and get into the room. We're going to have a great time. Tim, thank you so much. Thanks for being such a wonderful part of this Met Opera Global Summer Camp Week 1. We just had the best time, don't we?
Absolutely.
Oh my
gosh.
God.
It's going to be a great week.
And the campers just Absolutely love you. And you can see it. Oh my gosh. They're all, yes. Thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody. The cool sisters. Thanks for being here. That's right, Una. Get over to Get Moving Monday. We'll see you all soon. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Elena. Thanks for being here. Okay, friends. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.